Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing and comparing two of Harbor Freight's most affordable welders. Let's get started. Okay guys, so let me start off by saying I am not a professional welder, but honestly that adds more to this video than it takes away, because if you're a pro welder, you're not going to be looking at a Chicago Electric or a titanium. So this really applies to your amateur welder or your at-home welder. So that being said, let me go ahead and start off by listing some of the similarities between these two welders here. Okay, so on my right hand side here we have the Chicago Electric 125 amp Flux welder that comes in at a price of $139.99. And on my left hand side here we have the titanium, also 125 amp Easy Flux welder. This comes in at a price of $199.99. So both of these welders have a 120 volt hookup, meaning you don't need to have a 220 somewhere in your garage. You can just have a regular house outlet and you're good to go on these. As you guys already know, I'm sure, these are both flux core gasless welders, meaning, well, you don't need to have a giant tank of gas laying around to operate these welders. Both of the welders here today, they both advertise the same range of thickness of steel that you can weld, ranging from 18 gauge all the way up to 3/16 inch steel. Each welder also has a very similar wire feed up top, and it's very easy to set up. It will take you just a couple minutes to get started. So that is the fairly short list of similarities between these two welders here. Now let's start talking about some of the differences, and besides the obvious price point of $139 versus $199 in the bright green paint job here, there are some pretty big differences that you guys should know about. The largest difference, and probably the most important difference, is the output type. The Chicago Electric here has an AC output, while the titanium has a DC output. And basically what that means is that the titanium has a smoother, easier to weld with signal, and you'll see that when we start doing the testing of the welding. Another big difference here between the two welders is the weight and size. The Chicago Electric here is obviously larger and therefore weighs more. They claim that it weighs 32 pounds, whereas the titanium here weighs 15 pounds, and let me tell you, you can tell the difference. Another important difference between the two welders here is that the Chicago Electric here has very minimum controls, whereas the titanium is pretty extensive. The Chicago here only has a minimum and maximum setting for output, where the titanium, you have just a dial, you can dial it in precisely where you need it. Okay, so that's enough talking. I'm gonna go ahead and fire these guys up and start showing you guys some practice welds here, and hopefully you guys can tell the difference. Okay guys, so we are welding on about 2 millimeter thick, just mild steel here today. I have all of the settings on the machines where exactly where they need to be. On the Chicago and on the titanium, they both have a inside flap that basically gives you a diagram of whatever steel you're working on, what settings to put it on, and it'll get you around the same thing. So we're using the recommended setting. Let's go ahead and start with the Chicago Electric, and I'm going to be trying to put the Chicago on the left side here and the titanium on the right side here. Let's see how it goes. Okay, and here goes the titanium 125. I'm going to put it right beside the Chicago weld. Okay, so here are our two welds. On the right hand side here you have your Chicago Electric weld, and on the left hand side we have our titanium weld. You can see here with the recommended settings, the Chicago Electric weld kind of pulled up in the beginning, and I was able to drag it out, whereas the titanium kind of had, I'd say, better recommended settings here, and it was pretty much smooth the entire time. For two quick little test passes here, they obviously both would hold up here, but the titanium definitely won in a situation like this. Well, I hope you guys are able to tell the difference between the two welders here today. I can speak for myself that this Chicago electric welder, I've owned it for years and it is very reliable. You plug it in, flip it to the settings you need, and you can weld away. However, it's not going to be pretty welds. If you want pretty welds, something more reliable, then the extra $60 here is worth it for the titanium. You get basically half the size, half the weight, and it's about twice the quality of weld. So I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe if you guys want to see some more stuff here. I'm going to be building a engine run stand. We can start up one of our engines on it, and hopefully it's going to be pretty cool. So appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one.